is going on, everyone? We're back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, June 1st. Believe it or not, somehow we're almost halfway through this year. It's blowing my mind to say the least, but it's a Throwback Thursday. We're stoked to be here. We're going to be covering Dynamite. It's me. We've got Chaos with us. Host of Taking the Table. How are you doing? Yeah, did I point the wrong way?
Yes, you did.
Whatever. It's, the points are, I'll get there eventually in the points. How are you doing, Chaos?
Yo, what's up? What's up? Yes, I'm good, doing well. Professor of the month, pinch punch, and all that. It's Wednesday. You know what that means? No, sorry, Thursday. You know what that means. And and let's see. Yeah, without further ado, let's get straight to it, shall we?
Exactly. Same gimmick, different day.
Exactly.
Anthony, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. It seems like every one of these shows we have some mess up, like last week with the live, and it really is wild to me that like literally 2 months ago, the three of us were at night one of Mania.
That is wild to think.
It never gets old.
That's
every day I'm reminiscing.
Like to the date.
Yes.
Like it's the first. I didn't think of that.
And by the way, you're going to LA after this, so
it's actually funny. I got to make the drive again. That's my next move. Shout out Guernsey. Congrats on getting married. That's big. That's big of you guys. And all that or whatever. I'll save the good stuff for the best man speech. I'm excited about that. That's gonna be fun.
Gonna roast everybody that's there.
Oh yeah. If you're in attendance, just be wary. Make sure you come with a good outfit because there will be an audience roast.
You're going full
section
Don Rickles, the insult comment, are you?
No, I don't think I'll go that far. But I mean, after last night's, let's get into Dynamite. How about that? So after last night's Dynamite, it was finally confirmed that I was absolutely right. The entire time, CM Punk will be returning to AEW. They didn't even have to surprise us. He's just coming back. And they told us, Tony Khan himself told us, he took the time of his very busy schedule to give us a major announcement. And that major announcement was, guess what? CM Punk's coming back on the first episode of Collision in Chicago, if you didn't already see that coming a mile away. And we are really excited to hear it, at least if you're me, because I'm a CM Punk fan still, even though he kind of messed things up at Brawl Out. I enjoy him, and I'm a Chicago guy. But Anthony, let's start with you. How do you feel about Punk's return? What do you think it looks like? Who do you think he feuds with out of the gates? Maybe answer the questions in that order, but I don't know. It's up to you.
It is funny. I mean, Clark, you were from the get-go, both on air and off, you were adamant he was coming back. My initial thought when it all went down, I didn't know how he would be able to come back because there was so much heat. I wrote a piece on that. When the buyout didn't happen and the release didn't happen, I remember having a conversation with you and probably on the show and said, as long as he's under contract, there's a possibility he can return. As far as the return now, I mean, it's probably the worst kept secret in wrestling. Everyone knew he was probably coming back for Collision. The rumors, once they announced Chicago, it's like, well, really? Like you can't go to Chicago and not bring up Punk. I think it's a smart move to announce it now. As far as I know, I don't believe it's a sellout yet, so it would be a smart move to announce it to try to get more tickets. Punk is one of those performers that I love the CM Punk character. I don't know the man behind the character. I'm not exactly sure he's that nice of a guy, but again, I don't know Phil Brooks. So I'm more of a fan of the character than necessarily Phil. But like I said, I don't know him. I think it's a smart move to announce it. I think the first person for him to feud with, I think initially, a lot of people would think the Elite, but the Elite are tied in with the Combat Club right now. So their cards full. We don't know whether or not they want to work with him. Same thing with Jericho and him, because Jericho is busy with Adam Cole. The logical choice, and I know you had said this, I believe yesterday, Clark, MJF's the logical one because that's where he left off. I think another factor you could throw in there, presumably his first pay-per-view is Forbidden Door, right? That's the next one after this. Considering MJF buried New Japan and still called it minor league, it would fit his character that he would be the one guy on that show not wrestling somebody from New Japan and instead wrestling Punk. I think that would fit MJF's character going, they're all beneath me, I won't wrestle them. And then that's when Punk's music hits, he comes out, well, how about me? Or something to that effect.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating call, and I really like the idea. Also, especially to build for Forbidden Door and then to lead into All In, it might, to put one on the board like that and fill that building that way, might make a ton of sense. Chaos, I want to get your thoughts on the situation as a whole. How do you feel about Punk's return? How do you feel about being on Collision? Do you think the MJF idea, do you think it's right back in the world title picture, or do you think there's other stories to be told? Oh, muted, my bad.
No, it's me. That was me. I did say in my when I was on the show yesterday that Punk is definitely the most logical choice to be the next person. Sorry, the best person to face MJF next. And as I said before, AEW, or should I say TK, have a tendency to just pick up things from where they left off. So if there's an injury occurring or something like this major happens, someone has to leave the company and come back, he is very quick to just resume whatever the plan was. And obviously, when the brawlout happened, the next feud was going to be MJF. So it only makes sense for him to be the next major one. And of course, it's wise for it to bring CM Punk back, because there's so much money left on the table. There was so much usage out of CM Punk. No one was getting tired of him. And it's just, as a business person, as a business move, it makes sense for him to come back. AEW, I'm sorry, but AEW does need CM Punk right now. So yeah, definitely strike it while the iron's hot. Don't put him in some mid-card feud. Strike it while the iron's hot. As I also said yesterday regarding Forbidden Door, since obviously MJF obviously thinks that New Japan is the minor leagues, I think the next person which MJF could defeat and it doesn't really damage New Japan's reputation or anything like that, or the Eagles coming into play, I think the best person for him to face, who is also under ROH, would be Shibata. That would be a great match for MJF. MJF beats him, and then that's when Punk comes in to start their feud afterwards. It's only because the Collision episode and then Forbidden Door is the following week, it kind of messes things up. So obviously, I think he should do his long speech for Collision, all that kind of stuff. Maybe not necessarily set up anything, just say thank you for having me back, give all the speech, all that kind of stuff, and then after Forbidden Door, that's when he comes out to go and feud with MJF, and then just take it all the way to probably All Out. I'm excited for it.
I really like a lot of those ideas, and you brought up some great points, both on today's and yesterday's show, and Anthony as well, about MJF. But one of the ones that I really love that you brought up was about how they have a tendency to just pick up where they left off based on an injury storyline. We've kind of seen it with Chris Statlander. Exactly. We saw it a little with Christian Cage. We even saw it with Hangman and Moxley.
Yeah.
After the concussion, it's right back to the source, right? Yeah. Interesting. I wonder if we'll see the same with Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker when she returns, in a way, right? It would add up. I don't want to get all the way into that, though, because I think we're all kind of on the same page on strike while the iron's hot. Now's the time for MJF. I love the Shibata idea for Forbidden Door. I think it makes sense. You can logically tell that story. It'd be cool if there was a way to link Punk to Shibata to kind of tease it. I don't want it to be telegraphed, but to kind of tease, like, even if it's as simple as Punk doesn't appear on Dynamite, but there's like one segment on Collision where Punk like shakes Shibata's hand backstage or something leading into an MJF Shibata showdown. which I think is the most logical, best move you can make for Forbidden Door.
I think one of the funniest things is I'm assuming real heat that Kenta apparently still has with Punk, and any opportunity he gets, he tries to sell a matchup between the two that is probably never going to happen. But I mean, in theory, if there's anybody other than MJF that could do with it, almost would be kind of funny if the two of them work together and that's the first feud. But to me, MJF's the money feud. But I agree with Chaos. It really should be all out like the year, but you can kind of, I almost want to see if it is MJF, Punk makes his return on Collision, is in the ring, cutting the promo and all this other stuff, and MJF cuts him off and going, "You ruined my moment. It was supposed to be about me at All Out, but all anybody wanted to talk about was Phil Brooks going on a rant, burying everybody in the company. I'm the devil, not you." And I think they can totally do that.
Totally. I think you can do it either way. Even you can have CM Punk say, "Wait a minute, it was my hometown. That was supposed to be about me, and you ruined it, and that's why I got so upset." You can have him play both sides of that coin too, even, right? Like, look, I was in Chicago, and you came out and interrupted me with your Joker reveal during my big moment. You think it's all about you. It's all about, right? And you have this battle of the egos.
It will be in this. It is the same building, right?
I would hope that it's now.
No, it's Chicago, but is that the same building as All Out?
This is not
United
Center. United Center is where the Bulls play. That's going to be downtown, and then on the way up north suburbs would be Hoffman Estates, which is where Now Arena is, as well as even
it's still the same.
You actually pass the Rosemont pulling out of Chicago to get to Now Arena. It's that far north. It's far enough north. It's Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Technically, it's Rosemont's considered in Chicago. Like Now Arena is definitely a suburb. It's one of my favorite wrestling arenas, though. Horseshoe shaped, 11,000 fans right on top of the ring. It's loud. It's always good.
Now, here's the question, Clark. Will CM Punk's return in Chicago match the pop that you probably get when you go home to Chicago?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. No, they'll outdo it for Punk. He's that big, and United Center is a loud building anyway, too, right? It's like kind of the reincarnation of the old Chicago Stadium, so it's a lower ceiling for such a big venue. It's got not quite Madison Square Garden like theater-esque vibes, but like the lighting and everything. It's a very cool
old school
venue. Yeah, it's very old school, but yet modern because it is the new building.
Gotcha.
So it's cool. It's if they fill that place again, just like they did for the Rampage for Punk's return, it'll be real loud for Collision. That's Chicago wrestling crowd is always unique.
It's a hot crowd.
It's funny because even we talked about it a little bit yesterday to an extent, but I mean, Punk versus Cena at Money in the Bank, which was at United Center. Cena was the babyface, supposedly. He was, right? That Chicago crowd.
Punk's last match too,
right?
Because we didn't know he resigned.
Right, and that Chicago crowd was very pro Punk. It'll be a lot of the same crew, I would say, in that building, Chicago wise, for this event, and that'll be fun to witness for sure. It's always nice to hear a crowd go right. We saw Puerto Rico. We saw even the Saudi crowd was off the charts. I thought that kind of blew me away for like Sami Zayn and for Mustafa Ali. Like, I mean, off the charts. And then Puerto Rico was electric.
That was
Chicago's not quite the same, but for Punk, it'll be loud.
I don't think it'll be the same as for Collision. I mean, I don't think you could get a bigger pop than what you got when at the first dance.
He returned after 7 years, so that would be it
would be big, but I don't think it will beat that. No,
I don't think it'll be that big.
You're going to see people crying. You're not going to see people crying.
No. It won't be crying. I do think it'll be bigger than you expect, though. I think it'll be like...
Well, it'll be big.
Yeah.
100%. They look after their own, but it's not going to beat Rampage.
The most telling will be Punk's reaction in places other than Chicago. I think that's going to be the most telling thing to see how the audience responds to him. If it's
look at the announcement, it was very mixed.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He may get Cena type reactions where half the crowd cheers and half the crowd boos. He might be in that territory now, which he's never been in before.
I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, to your point, how it affects his booking and character.
Yeah,
because heel CM Punk was excellent, and if that's the reactions he's getting, I know that they will pull the trigger on that. He's too in tune to that part of it.
Yeah,
to not pull the trigger on turning heel if that's the reactions he's getting, and that actually might be the most interesting avenue for his return to be like a real return.
And really, it is so much easier to get the portion of the crowd that is cheering you to boo you than to get the portion of the crowd that's booing you to cheer you. It's much easier to be a heel. Punk's done it before. Punk can do it again. And I almost think that might be the smart play, where everyone's expecting him to be a babyface. Oh, it's CM Punk, the prodigal child, returning back to AEW and going, no, screw you guys. Like, that type of.
Well, and I was thinking about it too. Just even you mentioned earlier, like the Rampage pop, and I mean, on his initial return run after 7 years, which Anthony, you mentioned, right? There's no way to match that, but it's kind of worn off. And interestingly, this may turn out to be a blessing in disguise with Brawl Out, because there's an argument to be made that CM Punk's best work was as a heel, right?
Oh yeah,
and there wasn't really a route to turn him, given just the nostalgia. We haven't seen you in 7 years. It's the reunion tour. It's the band that got back together that we never expected to go on another tour. Well, now they kind of let us down for a minute, and there's a chance to actually maneuver him into a role where he's at his absolute finest. It may turn out to be a total blessing in disguise if CM Punk goes on a wicked heel run, given all that's come out of this.
I would love if he went, the last time I came back, everyone got ice cream bars. No one gets anything now. Like it's almost.
That'd be great.
What? He almost going, you guys want ice cream bars? Tough.
No, guys. This is the one. He goes, last time I gave everyone ice cream bars. This time it'll be $3 per ice cream bar on your way out the door of
plus
the arena. Plus tax.
Yeah.
Cash only. I mean,
now, in terms of a heel run, I would love to see that if they somehow get Punk and FTR versus the Elite.
Yes.
That would be the ultimate. I think it'll be the right time to do the heel run, I think. FTR and Punk being the heels, and the Elite meant to be the ones that's trying to eradicate the quote unquote cancer, with that being Punk and obviously FTR. And then, well, one person's known for really flapping their gums and getting in trouble for it, but that's what I'm saying.
Former podcast person, yes, I'm aware.
Sorry,
the former podcaster.
Yeah, the former podcaster. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that'll be the perfect time. But yeah, I would love to see some, if not a single heel run would be awesome. Punk is the best at it, and like you said, I agree. I think his best work is when he's a heel, especially when he has a mustache and he calls it and he tells guys that he has of a JJ.
Yes, the with the sideburns. What was that podcaster, by the way, we were talking about too? Is that Hax Darwood or Dax Harwood? I think
Hax Darwood. Yeah,
I believe it would be Dax.
Yeah, no, yeah. He would make an awesome heel and has in the past. I had to. That one was too good. But let's move on to the next segment of the day. And Chaos, this one's you. It's the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Lucha Bros and Bandito. What did you think of this match last night? How did you feel about it? What do you think about the future of the Blackpool Combat Club?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember much of this match. I mean, it was a standard TV episode match, and I love the Lucha Bros, one of my favorite tag teams in the modern era right now. And Bandito doing Bandito things. The match itself, for what I remember, was quite serviceable. Nothing really to go to write home about, really. I think the most stand-up person was definitely Yuta. I think he showed more more character. I think the most character I've ever seen from him, really. Danielson on the commentary was just doing what he does best. Obviously, and he said he punished Wheeler Yuta previously for not pinning correctly, and then that caused them to lose and all this kind of stuff. So Yuta got his redemption at the end by doing it looks like that this is the new pin that no one can get out of, because I remember Darby Allin's one, that was it, the Last Supper. His move was it was like no one could get out of that. And then now this one, I don't know what you would want to call this one. It's like no one seems to be getting out of this one. But
it's like the seatbelt, I think is what they're calling it, right?
Is it
I believe it's a seatbelt.
It looks complex as hell. So I can't blame
it.
it.
It does look complex.
It's a lot of twisting.
Yeah. But yeah, for the match itself, I thought it was cool. I was more interested in finding out what was going to happen with Callis and Takeshita, because even Danielson up to that point, he was being tight-lipped about it and not really revealing if they're part of the BCC or anything like that. But yeah, it was
which
cool.
they still didn't do.
I agree. That's the weirdest part to me, guys, is why have we not made the Callis official connection to the BCC with Takeshita?
I've been calling for that.
It's time. You've been calling for it, so that's why I was going to toss it to you, Anthony. What did you think about all this? And is it? I mean, when do we finally pull the trigger and do this?
I thought it was such an awkward moment at Double or Nothing that Don's off to the side celebrating with Takeshita separately, and the Bullet Club, and I keep calling it Bullet Club, Combat Club is celebrating, and they're keeping it weird. Like, why wouldn't you just pull the trigger of going, yeah, Don's the invisible hand behind the Combat Club. He inspired us to embrace our true selves. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, why are you having this loose relationship of going, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but we're not exactly together? It's weird and stupid. And I'm like, it's the most obvious thing to do. Like, why wouldn't you do it? Takeshita can only benefit from the rub of all these people, other than Yuta. Like, Claudio's got experience, Danielson has experience, Moxley has experience. They could give the rub to Yuta and Takeshita and help get them over, and Don can help get everybody over too. It makes no sense. It really doesn't.
Yeah, this one definitely, that part of it doesn't add up. I totally agree. And thankfully, by the way, Anthony, the good news is our next segment, unlike the Blackpool Combat Club, you're going to actually be able to talk about the Bullet Club. It's going to be Bullet Club Gold, whatever that means.
Exactly.
Against FTR. And I'm going to toss it right back to you. I hope you're not too winded after that one there.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
You ready?
Yeah.
How did you feel about this one? Because I want you to know before I send this to you. I have feelings about a lot of things. And I can't think of one on this.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. When this happened, you and I were on the phone, and I didn't remember this, and literally looked up the thing and went, what happened here? And I'm going, I still don't care. Bullet Club Gold is such a horrible name, first off.
100%.
I'm like, it's not a club. It's two guys. It's a tag team.
It sounds like a subscription service.
It sounds like a membership.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's a membership tier. So like the thing that frustrates me with this is I like Jay White a lot. I don't care about this group. Like I legitimate, and I don't even want to call it a group, this team, I don't care. And that's a shame, but it's a horrible name for the group. FTR, they have no luck. You have teams there and they keep sticking them with teams that no one cares about. You literally went from feuding with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, why, to this team, which no one cares about at all. And the Bullet Club as a whole, that brand, does anyone care about that in this day and age? Like, this group?
I think we're down to just Hot Topic. I still think they're selling the shirts at Hot Topic. I'm pretty sure Hot Topic still cares.
And they're selling it for nostalgia.
The crowd has dwindled.
The people buying it are nostalgia people. Nobody's buying it for Jay White and Juice Robinson or whatever the current iteration is in Japan. Like no one's doing. And that was more popular because of the
that Bullet Club Platinum. I think that costs like $4.99 more a month. Bullet Club.
Yeah,
Platinum,
that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure the NWO shirts are still selling more than the Bullet Club shirts right now.
And honestly, you know what this reminds me of, Clark, and you'll remember this. It reminds me of the last iteration in WCW of the NWO, the silver and black. Remember that?
They tried to lean into the Oakland
band
Raiders
is back together. It was Nash, Scott Steiner, Bret Hart, Scott Hall briefly before he got
wasn't
home,
Bret Hart the leader also of NWO? What did they call it? It was
silver and black. It was
2000 though.
Yeah, it was 2000, but the logo was silver and black. So I think they went by
that when Jarrett joined.
What?
Goodness gracious! Is that when Jarrett joined? Goodness.
Yes, it was the Jarrett one.
Oh my God!
Chaos, did you have any extra thoughts on this one, or do we just go to the next one?
What on the silver and black? Hell no! I don't.
No, not the silver and black. Let's go back to
the Bullet Club Gold and FTR.
Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Jay White. He deserves more than this.
Yes.
I'm glad that I don't mind seeing another match between Starks and Jay White at the end of it. Next week. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this whole Bullet Club Gold thing needs to hurry up and die. Like it is so terrible.
It sounds like an infomercial. Like you see an advertisement for some male
Bullet Club Gold.
Some male product of going, hey, are you approaching 40? Try Bullet Club Gold.
It's like the low calorie version.
Them infomercials you see at 3 a.m. that wakes you up, you know, and he's just booming like Bullet Club Gold. Like
Clark, the Frank
try
Thomas,
0 calorie Bullet Club Gold.
Clark, it's the Frank Thomas supplement.
Diet soda.
Did he sell it? And remember the supplement that Frank Thomas was advertising?
Oh, Nugenics? Shout out.
Yeah,
Nugenics.
but that's what it reminds me of.
I think that was Nugenics, I believe. Not that we need to fact check that. We definitely don't. But
not a current sponsor.
I do believe it was Nugenics. That was a testosterone.
But that's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound like that? Yeah.
It sounds like a crap whey protein. That's what it sounds like. Bullet Club Gold. But yeah, FTR deserve more. Bullet Club. Jay White deserves more. I do not care for Juice Robinson. He's like a little gnat that just won't shut up. He's like Scrappy. Like he just won't shut up.
He is Scrappy Doo.
Yeah.
Scrappy Doo.
So yeah, I just want to hurry up and die, and then Jay White goes challenge for a title. He deserves more.
He won. Scrappy Doo is in Juice Robinson is one of the best analogies I've heard in a long time.
That was great.
He's perfectly scrappy.
I love the fact that we've gotten Bullet Club Gold more over, not for the right reason, in just this few minutes than they've done in weeks on TV.
I'm thinking about upgrading my cell phone plan to Bullet Club Gold, actually, in the next few hours after this show. I've been considering making a phone call.
Premium!
Yeah, I'm trying to upgrade to Bullet Club Gold, actually. I've been reading about it.
It's a limited time offer.
Once in a lifetime. And so, speaking of Bullet Club Gold, we've got Don Callis and Takeshita next.
Smooth transition, Clark.
Which has basically nothing to do with Bullet Club Gold.
Yes.
But Callis is managing Takeshita. Takeshita's turned. He helped out the Blackpool Combat Club. They haven't quite made that connection. We touched on it a little bit earlier. Chaos, how did you feel about the segment last night? When do you think it's time to finally have Takeshita unite with the BCC and make this thing official?
I mean, first off, I just got to say, I think Dominic Mysterio has got competition in terms of heat because they were booing the hell out of Don from the get-go. With the silent Titantron, I love that. And you see the actual beat down to Kenny Omega in the background on the Titantron. Great, nice little touch. The promo itself, I mean, it was fine for what it was. It sounded kind of generic, like I've heard a billion people say that kind of stuff before, but yeah, I love the look from that they're giving to Takeshita. You know, he's definitely leaning into his that Japanese type of attitude, like he's bringing that realness back to it. Like he's somebody to take seriously. He's not this plucky baby face. So I do like this new look. You know, the promo, it didn't really do much for anybody. And again, I don't know why it's still, not officiated themselves being part of the Bullet Club. He just, like you said, the writings on the wall right there. And now I'm starting to say Bullet Club, Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah.
It's so easy to confuse the two. You keep wanting to say it.
I'm like,
to
me, it's almost the same thing now.
Yeah,
but one's relevant now. The other one's not.
That's right. It's a valid point. I didn't think of it that way.
But yeah, I love it. I'm still intrigued. Hopefully they can right the wrong and say that they are part of it, because this whole longness is I'm more even interested about obviously what happened backstage with Hangman Page and the Bucks earlier, and then obviously Dark Order started getting jealous. Why you ain't saying that joining us anymore? And then they say Kenny Omega is out of the country and he's not in Canada, so it looks like Forbidden Door is pretty much all but confirmed. It's obviously going to go and get backup, ain't it, for with Ibushi. So but yeah, other than that, this segment itself was fine for what it was. I'm looking forward to see where it develops for sure.
That's an interesting thing you said, Chaos, because now that you mentioned it, that would make sense where he said, oh no, Kenny's not in Canada. It would make sense that Kenny's in Japan recruiting Ibushi for this. Like that does make complete sense. If that's the direction they decide to go. The only thing that I thought was kind of dumb was Matt Jackson sitting there with the one sneaker, and I'm like, you're still holding the other exploding sneaker. Like we're supposed to believe you're still wearing the exploding sneaker. Like the high thing. I'm going like, what?
That was a big fail.
Didn't it blow up?
Yeah, it's like 4 days later. Like you're still wearing the same sneakers.
Still sizzling.
You would think you would have changed by now. At least shoes, let alone clothes.
I mean, you're in your home state. Like you couldn't tell them you didn't go home and all those days.
By moms.
Yeah, but in wrestling terms, like, even though it's 4 days later, in their eyes, it's just 24 hours later. That's how it kind of.
You're still wearing your burnt sneakers? Like, I'm sorry. There's no place to buy another pair of sneakers.
Didn't they catch fire just recently?
I'm just saying.
Did it just combust?
Yes. Like, I'm 99.9% sure I saw an explosion. I'm just saying.
And your foot just got all tacked up. I'm sorry. I think you need support in your shoe to begin with, but a burnt shoe on top of the injured foot, I think you need a little extra.
100%. Let's get our last segment before we finally get to throwback.
Yeah.
And Anthony, I'm gonna toss it right back to you. We got Anthony Cole and his Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, versus Chris Jericho and Saraya. On paper, almost a dream match for a mixed tag. What'd you think of this one last night?
I mean, honestly, the Adam Cole Jericho unsanctioned match is probably the worst unsanctioned match I've ever seen. I hate the ref stoppage thing was so dumb. Like that's the point of unsanctioned. I put it on par to the Hell in a Cell match that Seth had with The Fiend, where they stopped it. I'm like, that's the type of match you don't do that unless the guy legitimately got injured. Like you don't do that. The Britt Baker feud with Saraya and the Outcast. Again, this is a feud that no one cares about. No, literally no one cares about this. And it's like two feuds that they're continuing at the same time that like one of them had momentum in Cole and Jericho. They lost a lot of it with the unsanctioned match. And the Britt Baker Saraya, nobody cares. So it's like, I don't know if this match did anything to change that in a lot of people's minds. It was especially since Adam Cole and Britt Baker won. The faces won. The faces won on Saturday, or Adam Cole won on Saturday. The heels are losing. So why should I care more about this? Because there's no chase at that point. The faces won twice.
It's so true. It's the same problem I've had with Damage Control since the beginning. It's like they're not a real threat. If they don't win, they're not a real threat. Chaos, do you have anything to add on this one before we finally get into throwback?
I just want to quickly say that I did not watch the match. Even
better
because I just
didn't miss anything.
I hear you. You didn't miss much. Really, if anything, they did have a match, but that's pretty much all
that's about it.
that's they did have a contest.
Kanye West shrug.
Yeah, that was it. But let's get into Throwback Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday.
Yes.
And this is a fun one because it's an anniversary of the last ever One Night Stand. This wasn't an ECW One Night Stand show, but it was under the One Night Stand moniker. It's Extreme Rules as well as One Night Stand Extreme Rules 08. So it's either the first Extreme Rules or the last One Night Stand. It depends on the way you want to look at it, but it was in San Diego at the Sports Arena, same place as Dynamite last night. The irony is not lost on us here. That is hilarious. I went as a junior in high school with my mom. She was wearing a John Cena shirt. I was wearing a Jericho shirt. The card is absolutely off the charts. It was a super fun show. It's kind of an overlooked show because of the timing. It was an odd era, but I'll just run down the card for you guys. I got the DVD here. From back in the day, but we've got out of the gates, Jeff Hardy versus Umaga Falls Count Anywhere, and that one happened in the parking lot. There was a swanton off the production trucks. That was a fun match, and then we had the ECW Championship match, Singapore Kane on a pole,
and it was a number one match. It was a number one contender match, which when was realistically when you look at it now,
winner gets ECW Championship match at Night of Champions. You're right.
You almost never see a contenders match on a pay-per-view.
That's right.
No.
And this was Big Show versus CM Punk versus Tommy Dreamer versus John Morrison versus Chavo Guerrero. And that was a fun match. And the funniest part about that match is I ended up at Chili's across the street from the San Diego Sports Arena after the show with my mom, and Tommy Dreamer and Hornswoggle and Michael Cole sitting and eating in the bar. And we ended up meeting
random three.
That's such a
taking pictures, and they couldn't have been nicer to us. It was awesome. And talked about the match, and then a bunch of other wrestlers were in that Chili's that night. That was one of the most fun childhood wrestling experiences of my life. Just like after the show, you're in that post-show glow, having a great time, eating some food, and then all of a sudden there's just more. Where that came from, seeing all the talent walk through and everyone being so cool. It was awesome.
Talk about a group of three that would be more relevant than that. If you called them Bullet Club Gold, I'd be like, okay, I can see that. It's a random group.
It was a wild three, and my favorite was that Dreamer got ribs, which I did too. I loved that. Yeah, full rack of ribs post show. He deserved it after the amount of kendo stick shots he took that night, for sure. But then in the next one, we had a first blood match between John Cena and JBL, an I Quit match between Melina and Beth Phoenix. The stretcher match, which was the post Flair retirement match storyline between Michaels and Batista, and then followed by a last man standing match between Triple H and Orton. And I was sitting on the floor for this show in the third row. Orton broke his collarbone, and you could hear it. When he took the spot over the top rope and landed on the outside, you could hear the bone break. It was one of the most sickening thuds I've ever heard on the outside of a ring in my entire life of watching wrestling. It was crazy to be down there so close, and he missed a ton of time. But as a whole, the match was pretty wild for such a sprint. And then the main event, the iconic Undertaker off the top of the ladder through the 4-table spot that we see on video all the time. The TLC match, Edge versus Undertaker. This was an awesome show. Do you guys have memories from watching this? Do you remember kind of like the storylines that were going in? It was such a fun one at the time. It's weird. It gets overlooked, but the way we've talked about, Extreme Rules, why isn't there a stipulation on every match? This one had it. Mm-hmm. It had one of each of almost everything you could ask for that doesn't have a cage.
Yeah.
Right?
It's one of those shows that when I was looking up, because typically I'm the one that kind of like looks up potential throwback topics and go over with Clark. And I knew he was at this show, so it made it much easier for us to go, yeah, we got to do this. I don't really remember every card with a lot of these things. When I see a card, memories kick in. The two that kicked in was obviously the Shawn Michaels Batista thing, because that was literally a storyline built around Batista was mad that Shawn retired Flair. Like that was literally the whole basis of the feud. And the Undertaker Edge TLC match, because that visual of Undertaker falling off the huge ladder, going through 4 tables. Taker did that not because he had to. Taker didn't need to Taker didn't need to do that. Taker was already, iconic legend status. He didn't need to do that. He did it because it further moved along the story and helped Edge with his heel run. Like, he did that for the business. He did that for Edge. He didn't do that, I think it'll look cool if I fall off a ladder. And that was replayed so many times. And one of the stipulations to that match was, and obviously it didn't stick, was if Taker lost, he had to be gone from WWE.
That's right.
Vicky Guerrero eventually brought him back because at the time, Edge and Vicky were a couple. And it was revealed at the wedding that Edge cheated on Vicky. And then she went, Taker, you're back. Take him out.
Was it with Alicia Fox?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yes, it was.
Well, and that was actually at the time that Zack Ryder and Brian Major were the Edge heads. So they actually accompanied Edge to the ring for that match. But one of the most interesting, only because we're kind of running low on time, one of the most interesting memories I have from that match, or that card, that kind of blows me away in hindsight is you talk about the Hardys and the influence they've had on cinematic matches in the current era. The opening match between Umaga and Jeff all happened outside the arena.
Yeah.
It was essentially a cinematic match. The Falls Count Anywhere match never entered the arena. It was only in the parking lot. We watched it on the Jumbotron. And it's kind of fascinating to me in hindsight. We know about the House Hardy and all of the ultimate deletion, super ultimate deletion, incredibly ultimate deletion, all of that stuff. And even as far as like the Firefly Funhouse and what it led to, it is arguably the first, not cinematic match, but it's one of the first recorded and then played on the screen matches that we saw in my lifetime. And it was an awesome opener. Jeff hit a swanton off the top of a production truck.
Oh, that was the one. Why do that was a random episode of Raw? I don't know why.
That was the
he did do it on Raw too. I think he has.
He has done the production truck spot twice, I believe, but the Umaga one is at Extreme Rules because that's the parking lot at San Diego Sports Arena. And it's like really obvious. It's funny because it's like if you've been there, you know it. Like as soon as you see the shot, you're like, oh, that's San Diego Sports Arena. But Cass, do you have any other memories from that show or anything off the top of your head?
No, other than which is the main talking points. I do remember watching this pay-per-view live, and I saw that the unfortunate injury to Randy Orton where he broke his collarbone, and even like I was just watching his mouth, like just saying like it was a swearing non-stop. He was like telling the ref, I broke my collarbone. They rushed to the end. One memory I do remember is when he was walking to the back, and you could tell he was visibly pissed. And then I think the crowds were saying, nah, hey, goodbye. And then he turned around and he visibly just shouted, shut the F up.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, yo, that's how you know you got a lot of pull, because he didn't get penalized for that backstage. If it was anyone else, he probably would have got fined or probably got buried, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he literally turned around and said to the crowd, shut the F up. I just broke my collarbone, and he just walked back. I was just like, wow, okay.
Oh, 100%. And it's so funny sitting down there at ringside. Like I could hear a lot of that. I was, 17 years old. So giggling as a 17-year-old would at the cursing. But when the referee went to check on him, the most audible one that was the most obvious that I heard, I'll never forget, is the referee clearly was just asking him like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because it was kind of, I don't want to say gibberish, but like you couldn't really understand what he was yelling over the crowd noise at first. When the referee goes down to the floor to check on him, you could just hear it's effing broken.
Yeah.
A-hole.
Yeah. It was that was the most distinctive memory at first for, but definitely seeing that Taker bump. I mean, someone of his age, and like you say, and Anthony put it right. He didn't have to do it because he thought it would just be a high octane spot or anything. He did it to elevate Edge, and it worked. Obviously, we
still see the video to this day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, he did it, and he's definitely a man for the business. I don't think he doesn't have the shovel out for anyone, you know. From what I can tell from his career, but yeah, those are the two
100%
memories I remember.
And it was such a fun show. Honestly, being there was a blast, and today's been a blast, guys. We'll be back once again tomorrow. I'm gone this weekend, but we'll be back with another Throwback Thursday next Thursday. And thank you guys for joining us so much. On behalf of Wrestling Republic, Chaos, Anthony, and everyone, thank you guys so much. And tune in tomorrow at, I believe, noon Pacific, 8 UK. Thank you guys so much. Boom.